Hey, this is Haplin, and in this module, I'm going to be doing a little wrap up and conclusion for this Google Ads case study I've been working on. So the way this is going to go is I'm going to neutrally lay out the facts, and then I will move on to talking about how we draw conclusions and the story we tell about those facts. First of all, let me just change the time frame here so I can look at a much bigger window because I want to include the original campaign that we did because even though it wasn't run through High Level, this business originally worked with a Google Ads expert just on the Google Ads side, setting up Google Ads and running them. And the report pulls in some of the stats from that. Okay, so there we go. We can see this is the campaign that was running for some of last year and earlier this year. And some of the top of funnel stats, we don't have anything down funnel about that. Unfortunately, that is spilt milk because the way we did Google Ads in the past, we couldn't run them through High Level, we couldn't track things through High Level, etc. But this is a nice, helpful benchmark in this case because I tried to set up in High Level Ad Manager ads that are as similar as possible to the ones set up over in Google Manager before. Basically, I just tried to replicate the campaign, so now we can kind of compare and contrast. First of all, we can see the cost is way different. The time frames were way different. We put a lot more into ads before. This was just kind of a test to see what happens when we run it on the High Level side. So definitely different costs, but it breaks down to actually a better cost per click in terms of these two ads that are the ads we ran in High Level, higher cost per click before. Different click-through rates, pretty comparable. The old ad was a little bit better, but not too much. And then obviously the down funnel stuff we can't really compare, but we do have down funnel reporting for the new ads. The first ad got us 2 leads and we haven't made any sales yet. The second ad got us 1 lead and we also haven't made any sales yet. So in order to see what's going on with those leads beyond just did they buy or not, we have leads and sales in the reporting area. But if we want to see kind of the more specifics of where they are in the sales pipeline, we will have to jump over into opportunities. So let's do that. So here I am in opportunities and I've filtered to paid Google search as I taught you guys how to do. And there are 2 leads still in opt-in. I did a little bit of research. I can't show any sensitive contact detail, but I did look at these leads and they have only just entered the sales pipeline. They just filled out the form a couple of days ago. So some last minute additions. We haven't really seen them respond yet, but we do know that there's a long way to go in terms of getting them to convert. So they're just at the beginning of their journey. Meanwhile, the other lead has not only filled out the form, they have responded, booked their tour. They actually showed up to their tour and are now in this bucket called follow-up 1 week. This is a hot bucket which automates follow-up after 1 week. So there's a trigger, there's a workflow with a trigger that is when they enter this pipeline stage that triggers the workflow to wait for 7 days and then follow up. That's a great use of pipeline stage follow-up if you have a staff member on site doing post-appointment outcomes like I've taught this business to do. In this case, I know based on past pipeline performance as well as consulting with the client that folks who get to this stage convert at like a 50% rate. It's a toss-up, 50-50 as to whether this person ends up becoming a customer or not. So those are the facts of the case study. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to tell a story about that case study and draw some conclusions. And in order to do that, I am going to address first the good, tell a good version of the story, then I will tell the bad. Let's talk about the bad aspects of the story, and then the opportunity, where we go from here, what the next step is, how do we help this client improve and improve and improve. So first, the good. The good is that this campaign is at least theoretically not losing any money. The reason why I'm confident in this is because the total ad spend between the 2 campaigns is just under $500. In fact, it's right around $450 has been spent on this campaign just about. And we know that we've gotten 1 lead to show up for an appointment and they're about 50-50. We know based on consulting with this client that the average value of a sale is $1,000 or more. Sometimes it can be as high as 2, but typically the average value when they make a sale, if that lead who showed up for their appointment, they become a customer, their average value is going to be about $1,000 to this business. So a 50-50 shot at getting $1,000, you're flipping a coin. Every time it's heads, you get 1,000, tails, you get 0. Over time, if you flip the coin enough times, the average will be about $500 a coin flip. So in this specific case, with only one lead, we may make $1,000 or we may strike out and get zero. But theoretically, the idea is that we put about $500, $450 of ad spend in. We're getting about 500 out on average over time if we were to scale this with the same type of result. So it's basically a wash. We're putting $1 in and we're getting $1 out, and that's not terrible. We could be doing worse. That said, let's move to the bad. The bad is bad because, first of all, $1 in and $1 out, I don't want to run Google Ads that way. There's no way I'm going to be able to retain my client that way. If this is a real world Google Ads agency client relationship, I'm definitely getting fired within 1 to 2 months, especially if I'm trying to charge a retainer or take some kind of cut because I'm doing a lot of work with the agency here. Then it's no longer 1-to-1. It's 1-to-1 on the ad spend, but add in my retainer, the business is losing money. I'm going to get cut. Unless, of course, I do something proactive to address this with my client and hopefully get some improvement, diagnose some problem, fix that problem, and turn these Google Ads around. And that segues us perfectly into the opportunity. Looking at this, I mean, you guys know me, I don't actually really know Google Ads all that well. I have the benefit of being able to compare it to expertly run Google Ads, and I'm not really seeing too much room for improvement here. I mean, maybe there's some headline change or magic words that I can change on the Google Ads side to try to get the cost per click down, but that just does not seem like the lowest hanging fruit here, right? I mean, it's possible I just have no idea what I'm talking about and a competitor could get 10-cent cost per click or something like that and a 20% click-through rate, and there's some dramatic magic tricks you can do, but I kind of just don't think that's the case. But because I am very confident in sales pipelines and my understanding of conversion metrics, the thing that is absolutely jumping off the screen to me is this number, 2 and 1, compared to this number, 179 and 157. And just for good measure, I'll reiterate that when it comes to these 3 leads, the pipeline is actually doing a pretty good job of converting them. Obviously, we have 2 who only were just generated, so they're still at the very beginning. Even if they go nowhere there, though, having 1 out of 3 leads make it all the way down the sales pipeline to an appointment, to showing up to that appointment, and to being in a good position where they're thinking about potentially closing. 1 out of 3 people making it that far makes me feel like, okay, there's no reason to think the pipeline isn't working well, that the whole overall sales structure, there's anything broken with that. I don't need to go work on them with anything about the follow-up or whatever, because I know that I could take 1 out of 3 leads getting to showing up to an appointment. If I could get that consistently, 1 out of 3 show to an appointment and are thinking about buying, that's great. I can do that. I can scale with that. The real problem is just that there's only 3 of them. We got over 300 clicks, but only 3 leads. That means it takes over 100 website visitors to get 1 lead. That is a 1% conversion from clicking on the ad, landing on the page, they're interacting with the copy, they are seeing this business, and 99 out of 100 people are saying, I'm not moving forward. That is paltry. That is bad. We need to change that. So what I'm implying here, and now I'll just say it explicitly, is that I think it's actually not really the Google Ads that are not performing. I think the Google Ads part is doing just fine. But remember, the lead source is just one part of a very big, very complicated pipeline that drives people all the way to sale, where there's a lot of factors. So we really have to pinpoint where the responsibility is and where the opportunity is. I don't think it's with the Google Ads themselves. I think it's with the website. So obviously, being a good marketer, I am already very familiar with the website structure and the web experience for this particular business. And it's kind of not surprising because I know that for whatever reason, this business has intentionally added a lot of friction to their lead gen process. First of all, they're not incentivizing it. There's no standing offer. There's no get a free this if you give us your contact information. They're not doing anything like that. So there's no incentive for somebody to take action and join the sales and get into the sales flow. And second, that call to action from a buyer psych standpoint, just the copy, the verbiage around the form is a full-on application process. So the form that they're filling out is an application form. It's a little bit longer. It's titled application. It's inviting people to apply to join this business, to join as a customer. It's a member-driven business. So from a buyer's psych standpoint, there's just a lot of friction added if somebody wants to take action in the sales pipeline. It's from a psychological standpoint, it's like very high friction. It sounds like a big commitment. We're not making it really easy for them. And we've actually already talked about this in the past, and I've mentioned to them that it might be nice to have a standing offer, etc. And they, have kind of waffled, haven't been sure about it, but they also haven't had a lot of stats backing up any kind of decision. They've just kind of been going with their gut, and they have good reasons to want to add friction to their website. I won't get super deep into this client, but they have their head on their shoulders in a lot of ways when it comes to organic and their other marketing efforts. But when it comes to Google Ads, 100 visitors, only 1 lead, that is not going to cut it ratio wise, and they've never seen these stats before. So now it's time for me to go back to my client, be proactive. Don't wait for them to come to me and say the Google Ads aren't working and just hope I can, retain them for 1 more month before they let me quit. I want to be proactive. I want to take these results and say, hey, we're almost to a month in, and look at what I'm looking at right now. With these Google Ads, we're getting plenty of clicks and everything's fine on that side. But when somebody lands on the website, it takes 100 website visitors for you to get 1 new application form. And then I just consult with them and see what they want to do. Maybe we change some of that verbiage, take some of that friction out, add a standing offer that actually incentivizes form fills, and we let it run another 2 weeks, maybe increase the ad spend a little bit just to juice it up, and see if we can get this ratio better. See if over the next 100 clicks we can get more like 10, 15, or 20 leads. Because I know, say if we get 18 leads instead of 3, then if 1 out of 3 of them gets to post appointment, that's 6 out of 18 getting to post appointment, and then half of those leads buy. That's 3 new sales, and that's $3,000. So that's going to make the whole thing worth it. If I can get to numbers like that, then Google Ads are a good idea. Or maybe we make a specific page of the website that's a little more beginner friendly. Remember, Google Ads, this is paid traffic, people who are not searching for this business out. It's just a different quality than organic traffic, and so we have to take account of that, make it a little bit more welcoming, do a little bit more education about who we are, perhaps, maybe, so we make a page on the website that we drive the Google Ads to specifically. That's more beginner friendly. That way they can keep the main application process with high friction, all that, for their organic traffic or for their other sources just on their home site, but then we run it to a specific part of the website that's optimized for the Google Ads experience, or optimized for the psychology of the typical Google Ads paid visitor. Or maybe they make a different decision. Maybe they don't want to change anything, in which case I'll be like, okay, maybe Google Ads need to pause then, because if only 1 out of 100 clicks is going to turn into a lead, I just don't think that's going to be sustainable. Right now it's about $1 in, $1 out, but we're not really going to grow your business very significantly that way. Of course, I'd probably recommend that they work on their website, because I think that's also going to help with their organic traffic. So it'll be interesting to see in the real world what this business decides to do. But hopefully I've given you some confidence and some idea of what to do when you are in a situation like this, especially when it comes to client management. You really want to be proactive in going to your client, being honest about the good, the bad, and the opportunity of how their campaign is going, especially if you're not hitting a home run. Like in this example, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I'm definitely not hitting a home run here. And that's going to happen. I don't care if you're the best Google Ads expert in the world, if you're doing it on high level, the Google Ads platform, whatever. It's the nature of the game. It's a bit of a numbers game. You're not hitting a home run every single time you step up to the plate. Analyze your pipeline. It doesn't take a PhD to be able to do this. It just takes an understanding of each stage of the pipeline. What is the website visitor's experience and where the bottleneck is? Maybe they're getting a lot of leads, but their follow-up is not properly converting them to appointment or to whatever the next step on the sales process is, and you go take a look at their automation. Just wherever the bottleneck is, you want to go see, why are people getting stuck at that stage? In this case, people are clearly getting stuck on clicking on the website, but then not turning into form fills. I actually think there's a phenomenal opportunity here and a great lesson in terms of the story the data is telling about where to go next. And even though this $500 so far has not produced a single dollar of revenue, there's a great reason to believe that with the proper changes made, the next $500 could yield $3K in revenue or more. So moral of the story is, don't just turn Google Ads on and then hope and pray that your client doesn't fire you in the next 2 months. Get the pipeline set up, get the nurturing set up, get tracking set up so you can see conversions along every stage of the pipeline, diagnose the bottlenecks, see where people are getting stuck, and then figure out what you're going to do to fix it. That, in my opinion, is the real work of a digital marketing agency, and that is where you are actually going to have the biggest impact on your client's business. That's all for this module. I'll see you in the next one.